Hi, in these stressful times, businesses are crying for help and no place to go. One place to think about is your bank. And today we have an interview with Andrew Vojt, who is the Vice President of M&T Bank in Darien, and he's got some great advice. So enjoy this information about what business owners can do during this really uncertain time. Everybody's really suffering, Andrew. And I know that there are some resources that people have that they may not know about. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that. How are small resources going to pay for their bills during this time, and what resources do they have available that they may not know about, and where can they find them?
So that's a really good question, and just kind of to set the stage, this is a really stressful time for everyone, and especially for small business owners that have employees and have business needs that they have to make. And talking with a lot of business owners, there's that sense of doing right by their employees, making sure that they and their families are taken care of during this stressful time. So you have business owners dealing with the personal burden of both their own financial struggles, but then also those of their staff as well. So it is a very challenging time, I think, for everyone as well. So luckily, a lot of the financial services industry is really stepping up to the plate. And I think first and foremost, we see a lot of discussion, and especially within the banking industry, we're seeing our bankers reach out to customers, seeing how we can help, and really just checking in to make sure they're navigating through these challenges to the best of their ability. So at least on the onset, I think it's the first point is figuring out how they can run their business during this trying time. So for our restaurant owners, they're able to take deliveries and take out orders. How can we set them up so that they're able to reach out to customers effectively? How can they market themselves? How can they be organized in a way so that they can still continue to receive revenues and deliver their food, or to have takeout for their customers? I think that's the first point, is how can they have their business? And the second thing as well, how can they stay agile during these trying times? So how can they reorganize themselves in a way to still be profitable, to still be able to take care of their customers, but then I think just foremost, how can they weather the storm of this trying time?
Exactly. And those are all good things that business owners need to know, because I'm sure that your your example of restaurant owners, they don't know a lot about what to do. They where they're screaming and don't know where to go. So that's good,
Absolutely.
Andrew. Excellent. So where should we start? What can I do as a small business owner? Where should I go for help? And by the way, thank you for reaching out to your customers. I know that M&T and you in particular are very good about that. But
Thank you so much.
should your customers not wait for the banker to reach out to them? Where should they go? Who should they call?
So that's a really good question. So first off, if your bank is reaching out to you, engage your bankers in conversation. Really try to understand what the banks are doing. So a lot of different banks and financial institutions are doing different things to help out. At least at the banking level, they are doing smaller things to really take care of their customers during this time. So being loose on fees, allowing different ways to accept payments. We're allowing customers to defer payments for certain types of loans. I know specifically at M&T, at least on the personal side, we're offering a loan up to $5,000 at a rate of 2.99%. So that is giving a lot of individuals an opportunity just for a very small amount of cash that might be helpful for them to maybe float a rent payment here or there, or allowing them to put food on the table for a couple weeks at a time.
Exactly.
So smaller things like that, banks are being a little more flexible in how they're helping out their customers. They understand that the needs of them and their families are super important. So we're trying to do as much as we can, at least on the financial services side, to be a better service to our customers. One thing I'll share as well is that the SBA, the U.S. Small Business Administration, is doing a lot to help our customers during this time as well. So there are disaster loan programs that are available to customers throughout this time. So if you're a business owner that is currently operating and is impacted by this loan, and you're in an area that is considered affected by the coronavirus, so it's considered a disaster zone, and that information is publicly available online. The SBA will offer economic injury disaster loans up to $2 million in assistance that can provide a lot of support to these small businesses to help out during this time. So a couple of small things on that. So for small business owners, a lot of these loans are coming at an interest rate of 3.75. So those loans may be used to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, maybe just any other smaller bills that are really unable to be paid just because of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So they're offering different payment terms and some up to a maximum of 30 years. So they're allowing customers to apply online through the SBA website. So there's a couple of places you can go from there. So you can go directly through the SBA. And then we're working with our Small Business Development Center. So at least in Connecticut, there's a couple of different offices in Danbury, and Stamford. In Eastern Connecticut, there's a couple different places where you can go physically. But for, of course, a lot of people that are practicing social distancing, there's a phone call away, there's an email box. There's a couple of different ways you can reach out to your local development centers that are providing a lot of help and really navigating our customers through this tough time.
Great. We'll put these links at the bottom of this too, so that should help.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. So what should owners be thinking about now that they're in this interim period? Are there opportunities to fix things about their business that they should take advantage of during this interruption?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a great time just to kind of get organized. So identifying your stakeholders, who's really involved in the business, who stands to profit from your business. It's a great time to optimize your operating model as well. How can you organize your business in a way that is really streamlined for success? And again, just managing your sales process. So again, it's important to create essentially that perfect operating model to help your customers with. I think it's important to create both those long-term and those medium-term goals. And then, of course, in the short term, how can you really set yourself up for success with your operating model? I think, of course, too, you're spending a lot of time at home. I think it's a really great time to organize your office, clean up your email box, get all of your files in the right place. I think just getting kind of the initial stage set for success so that when this thing passes, you're in a really great position to be successful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Those kinds of things are important to do anytime. But now that we have some time on our hands, that's really good advice, Andrew. Great. So from a banking perspective, as business returns to normal, what opportunities are there for us all to get better so that we can serve our customers more? And one of the things that you mentioned, I think, is this long-term loan of pretty good money, so that people can take advantage of that after things. That continues after things are better, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of these SBA loans are going to be longer term loans that can definitely float for a lot of funds for a certain period of time. But we also have bank financing that is available to customers, of course, should they qualify. So it is a great time to talk with your banker and see what opportunities are available to secure bank financing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of different things that you can really take advantage of. So at least for a personal business owner as well, you can utilize a working capital line of credit. But then, of course, on the personal side as well, you can take advantage of your home's equity and leverage a home equity line of credit. That can give you access to capital that might be used to fund a business expense.
Right.
So there's a couple of different things that business owners can take advantage of. And I think the biggest thing is just reaching out to your banker, really be engaged in that conversation, because there are different ways I think banks can really help out during this time.
Great, and I know there are, and talking to you helps me feel better too. So good. Anything else that we ought to mention that people might need to know at this time?
Absolutely. So, at least specifically regarding the SBA process, I think in thinking of the turnaround time that this process is undergoing. So, through these disaster loans, there's a couple steps that kind of go into it as well. So, it's a three-step process. So, you go through an application. So then also the SBA will kind of verify the lots of revenue that's come from your business, and then of course they'll make a decision, and you close the loan and you receive your funds. So there's three major steps in the process. On average, it probably takes about a 4 to a 5 week process. So you may not you may need funds in a sort of quicker time, and may not need to wait on the SBA for 4 to 5 weeks to kind of go through that process. So I would encourage you to at least sit down with your banker, sit down with your financial advisor, and talk through the different options, because there are ways to receive capital during these trying times. And depending on how important timeliness and turnaround time is important to you, it may be prudent to go through a bank first before going through these disaster loans.
Yeah.
So there's different options we have available to you. But I think also from a consulting perspective, reach out to your business consultant like yourself, Jim. Utilize our SCORE mentors, utilize your Small Business Development Center. For women business owners, we have the Women's Business Development Center as well. So there's a lot of different people that are willing to help. I think it's just finding the right process and finding the right people. But just reach out. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and talk with people that can help during this time.
Yeah. So and I know you don't have the answer to this, but what do you think the government's going to do or change that's coming up in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think in terms of how banks respond with the SBA, I think we can see a lot of changes there. So typically, the SBA will work with banks to help the customers that maybe not necessarily qualify through traditional bank financing. And with that comes a lot of different red tapes and fees and the process. And I could imagine the banks and the SBA will create maybe a slightly more streamlined process to really help these customers during this time.
Good.
I think the biggest thing as well, we've seen interest rates be slashed to near zero. So you've seen banks' rates go down as well. So currently, the Wall Street Journal prime rate is 3.25. So banks have really low rates right now. So it's always an important time to look at the debts you currently have. This may be a good time to maybe refinance. So if you have a mortgage that's at 4.5% or 5%, you may benefit from taking advantage of a refinance because rates are going to be a little bit lower. So again, it's reaching out to your mortgage partner as well. Looking for as many places to save money is going to be so important. I think especially now where if you're a business owner and your main revenue stream might not be as fruitful, looking for ways to save money is going to be so important during this time.
Yes, and that's where a consultant could help too. That's
Absolutely.
So good. Excellent advice. Well, I think this has really helped me, and I hope it'll help our listeners. One last question. What's the meaning of life?
I think if I had a magic wand and could figure that out, we'd be in a really good place. But I think this is a really stressful time for a lot of people, and I think it's important to really check in with those people that are important to you. Don't isolate yourself, at least socially, emotionally during this time as well. Check in with your family, your loved ones, your friends. Although we may not be able to see each other much in person, I think to really check in and utilize the digital capacities we have to talk to people, stay present in each other's lives is going to be so important. Self-care is really important as well, making sure you're still eating well to the best of your ability, taking the time for yourself as much as possible. Mental health is so important during this time. So I think there's going to be a lot of really stressful times going forward, but we have each other throughout this.
We do indeed. Yes. All right. Thank you, Andrew. Anything else we should cover? I think this has really helped, and I hope it helps our listeners.
I think we've covered a lot, but Jim, you've done a really great job in helping business owners. I think business owners who are looking for someone, you're a great resource to have. So hopefully this can help touch a couple people along the way.
Indeed. And you too, Andrew, as always.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
No problem, Jim.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye-bye.